Okay, so just a couple things here. Zach and I, we were just talking a few minutes ago about, we've got these flashcards that we're going to get that they're going to help us, you know, when we do our 60-second commercials and when we do our presentations, because I think it's really good for us to do good, effective 60-second commercials along with presentations, and I think it helps us if we have like a way of knowing that our time's almost up. But it's really on each one of us to come up with a good 60-second commercial each week. It's good, relevant. I know it gets mundane sometimes, but it's kind of a challenge. You know, what can I come up with this week? What can I do that's going to make, you know, people understand better, you know, what I do and what would be a good referral for me. So, some of the stories we get are really, really good, but at the same time, we are supposed to keep it at 60 seconds. So maybe we could do the story really quick or save it for a presentation. But just the fact that when you have a deadline, whether it's a presentation or a 60-second commercial, I think it's good that we all keep it to that same, you know, that this kind of same standard for everybody. So what we have is, and we're going to get these, might be a week or two before we get them, because I'm going to be gone next 2 weeks, and I told them I'd get them for them. They're going to be green, yellow, and red. So green.
Did you ask Brandon? Because we had it before.
I mentioned it to him at our last board meeting, and he didn't say he had it.
I remember we had the.
Weren't they just laminated cards?
Yep.
Okay, I can handle that at home. So, matter of fact, maybe I'll get them to you before next week.
We'll make it work.
Okay.
And,
So.
And they're still ignored.
And they're still ignored? Well, you know, it's either that or Zach's going to have to, like, hey, or, you know, or come on, you know. So if we just have a subtle way of, you know, alerting somebody, like, hey, your time's almost up, you know. Yeah, kind of like that. Is my time almost up?
No, I was going to suggest that most of us have these, and you know, you can always, as I did last week, I just set my phone there and look at my time and as I was going along. But I agree, you should have something.
Sometimes you really get into it and you lose track. So, but that's what Zach's job is, to keep us on track. So this is what's already in the book. There's nothing new. So the Sergeant at Arms will keep speaker on time by using green, yellow, and red cards. So the green means you have 2 minutes to start the conclusion of your topic. So that means, you know, start winding down. And the yellow means you have 1 minute for the presentation that you're almost done. And if it's a 60-second commercial, it means you have 10 seconds left. So when you put 60 seconds on your clock, or however you're going to time it, when you're down to 10 seconds, you know, flash the yellow one.
Mm-hmm.
So people know, like, hey, if I'm doing a story, I better make it quick. And red means you have to stop. It says you have stopped. Your time has ended. You have expired. So
Kind of like presidential debates.
yeah, like that. And they go about the same way. Like, okay, I see the red card, but I'm not done talking yet.
Well, we need to have a towel that's all folded up, and when you get the towel thrown at you, that's when
I
it
have a
goes.
shotgun that shoots salt.
Oh.
It won't shoot that far,
I would scare him.
but it would scare them.
Yeah, for the most part, I mean, usually if somebody's saying something, it's fairly interesting, but just to keep us on track so we don't run out of time to pass referrals and, you know, do those things that we're really here for, these will be helpful. So the other thing is, just any questions on that? That makes sense? So red, yellow, and no, it's green.
So
Green.
is
Hey,
2 minutes.
let me test you. Okay, so green means
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Start
Okay.
your closing.
Okay. What about if somebody flashed a yellow one?
1 minute.
Okay. What if you're doing a 60-second commercial and they flash the yellow one?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. All right. Red means.
Stop.
You're expired.
Red means if you're halfway through a word, you have to stop.
Unless it's a bad word at that cutoff.
Shoot. All right. Okay, so there are some costs associated with being a member here. So let's just say, for example, somebody forgets that they're the presenter. This one should fall back on the person that assigns them. If they didn't assign somebody, right, they should be assigned this fee. So basically, the reminder costs are as follows. So not prepared as a presentation or education speaker, $10. So if you're on the schedule, you don't show up, or you come and you're like, oh, I'm on the schedule. Now, there is some preventive maintenance done, you know, behind the scenes for this. So Thomas, being the, what's his position? The member, the presenter person? Program chair. So he really should be making calls. Well, two things should happen. Before we leave a meeting, we should say, and by the way, next week, the presenter is so-and-so. Let's just say it's, if it's me, you know, then that way you guys would know, okay, if there's somebody that really, I know that has any questions about collision work or paint, maybe next week would be a good time for them to come. Also, once we know who it is, I could say, well, by the way, I'm going to be speaking about this next week, just real briefly, so people know. But the other thing is, Thomas should also coordinate with that person sometime during the week or like the day before, just to make sure, like, hey, nothing's changed, right? We're still on. So those two things should happen. But if a guy did show up and he completely forgot, then $10. You got to pay $10. So last week when we had that raffle, that's where all that money went to. Who won it? Susan, did you win it? Mike, and someone else that wasn't here. That was
Zach?
How was that?
Huh?
Who was that?
I think you might have money.
No, it was. Yeah, you won some money last week.
So who won the last quarter? Who got the most referrals?
That's another
The
question.
most
We haven't had
referrals?
any updates.
That's a John Bailey question.
It is, okay.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't me this time.
He did mention it, but it escaped.
Did he?
Yeah, he kind of went down.
Because I know Manny was second.
Yeah, we had a good competition going last year, but.
I know.
I get her calls all the time here. You guys, if something's written in early handwriting, you all know it's from me, right? If you can read it, it's from me, not Manny. Oh, can't read it.
Okay, so yeah, nobody can be offended or anything if they come unprepared to do a presentation because they've been forewarned, and it's $10 fee, and that would go.
That should be at least 20.
I
Yeah,
think
really.
so, too. If you show up and you forgot 20.
So and that goes to man. Yes.
Yeah, who's just figured this out to do it?
Well, I don't even know the answer to that. That's it's out of my pay scale. So. But I've already texted Thomas. He hasn't responded this morning, so he would be the person to ask. Now, this should all be available on our website. We've talked about this, but it's still not, right?
I don't think it's all available through our shared
Okay.
scenario.
So this is something we need to talk about in our board meeting next time, because we have talked about it, but still it's not happening. So, all right. Enough on that one. So another one you can get nailed on is late quarterly or annual dues. So if we pay our dues every quarter, and if we're not paying them on time, each week it's a $10 additional cost. So
As long as he got them out at least
True.
a week or a couple of weeks before.
so if
That's
Mannon
been the
messes up, he
problem.
should be paying everybody's late fees.
It's hard to get those stuff timely, but it's even worse. Like, for us, if I don't get an invoice, they're not gonna pay it.
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's where I was going. So, do we get an invoice?
We do.
Do we get a reminder?
We do. Yeah.
Or usually an email, but
Okay.
it works.
And we'll usually talk about that prior, in front of the whole group. Okay. Ooh, here's a good one. Cell phone rings during a meeting. How much does that cost? Anybody know? Should be. But it's only $1.
Rings or chimes?
It says cell phone rings in a meeting. It's $1.
So a chime isn't a ring.
Your cell phone makes noise.
But it's not written as cell phone. That's why.
Man.
We can make an addendum to that. So, if it makes a noise, what's a ring nowadays? A ring could be anything. I mean, it's not always, it's not like the old days where there's a ring. Now it could say your phone is ringing, you know. So, okay, that's $1. Late or no show as greeter. Well, we would have to have a greeter first before we could charge them $5, but.
We used to have the new guy as greeter.
We
And
sure
used to
did.
Greeter until another new guy is.
So that would make Brian the greeter.
That
So
gives you incentive to get another person.
so these are a couple things we need to talk about.
Secret handshake.
Yeah.
And I like it. So what is is there a function in the book here on greeter?
We greet
Yeah.
people.
Is there?
I think there has to be, yeah.
There's probably something. Off the top of my head, I don't know. It'd probably be somewhere in the bylaws about a greeter.
It's somebody's job.
Shake somebody's hand, make sure everybody gets.
There is something in there because I remember seeing something about a greeter having to be there early. We can look that one up.
Because I'm usually here about first, but I'm having a Bristol morning. So.
Okay, and that actually works out pretty darn good because, you know, being the new person, you can greet people as they come in, get to know them. That was our whole thought behind it, is if, you know, you're gonna know the least amount of people right off the bat, and so, but then once you get sick of getting to know everybody, you're like, okay, I gotta recruit somebody else to take my job. So it works out pretty good. You get to know everybody, and then we're all motivated, like, okay, let's get a new person now so they can greet. So, but if you are the greeter, and that's your responsibility, and that'd be $5 if you're late or don't do it. Okay, so failure to complete connection calls. Connection calls, okay.
We haven't been doing it.
Well, we did a little bit. We did one the first quarter of the year, or last quarter last year, and then John gave us a list, and then never asked for them back. And I had it all filled back and everything.
Okay, so connection calls are those, that's not following up on referral. That is like
That's the
trying to
challenge.
get the challenge. Okay, because we issued that challenge, but Reg kind of admitted we didn't really do a good, he didn't do a really good follow-up on it. Maybe he wasn't here or something. So, all right, so connection calls, I wrote that down. Now, if we have an after-hour event, like we had, the last one we did was the bow and arrow night, which is pretty fun. We like everybody to be there. That's kind of why we have it. It's really good. It was a lot of fun. And it's a good way to kind of get to know people on a different level, you know. I think one of the funnest ones was the go-karts. That was fun.
If you didn't break your ribs.
Yeah, we only had one injury, so, you know, it was pretty good. But if you, so we always have plenty of advance notice on that type of thing. If you're not able to make it, understand, but you also got to understand as being part of the group, it's $5 if you don't make it. So that's another one of the fees. And no name tags. Everybody have the name tag on?
I don't have one.
Okay, all right, penalize her.
We're still waiting.
You ever got name tags? Byron, you have one, right?
I have one, but I don't have it with me.
Okay.
You guys
Yeah.
are
About it last week, he said
the
he's
manual isn't working.
So if you don't have your name tag on, anybody know how much that is? $1. Okay, all right.
Assuming you have one.
So what about, see, you need to step up to a new level if you're on the board. So if you miss a board meeting, which is once a month, how much do you think that costs?
$10.
Close.
$5.
$5. So all that added responsibility also makes you more responsible to be there. So $5. Now this is probably the best one. Not having assigned responsibility completed. Like if you're assigned something and you just don't do it. But I think this is, I guess it could apply to everybody. It's not just the board. But I think it should start with the board, you know. And when we have a board meeting, the first thing we do is we review what we talked about the prior month. So we're going to know right off the bat, you know, what we talked about, and then we find out that, oh, well, we talked about it, we signed it, nobody did it. That should be a $5 fee. So I think that is, you know, in a way, this is kind of fun money. It's just keeping people on task, on on track, and the money comes back to us, you know, one way or another, to Zach or Mike or Susan.
Keep it up, I need you.
Susan won, but she's not here. This is the second week she's not here, so.
She's usually here.
So should we re-raffle it?
So she said she's gonna be gone and asked me to do
Okay.
people being peer duty, whatever that's called, penance.
Okay, so that's about it on the costs. So those costs, some of them, I mean, if you don't have your name tag on, there's not gonna be really I mean, there could be like a spontaneous check, but for the most part, if you're guilty of these things, you can just pay it, you know, when we go around and do referrals.